Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we are joined by Michelle Hill, who coaches women through deceptive relationships. She's the author of The Heart Swindler and a book and publishing consultant. Welcome to the show, Michelle. I am so excited to chat with you about this really important topic today about overcoming or getting out of disentangling yourself from deceptive relationships, but really relationships that aren't working anymore.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me, Jill. I'm so excited to be here, but there's so much to say and talk about when it comes to this, because I think women feel so trapped in this area. So ask away and we'll have a talk about the helping women.
So tell me your story. What inspired you to write the book? And how did you get to this point?
There is strength in vulnerability, and I have quoted that more and more lately. And what led me to write it was I've been and I don't like to use the word victim. I like to use the word either target or survivor, really. And I've been the survivor of two, I would say, romance scams. One for money when I was first divorced way back. It happened in early 2000s. Second time, recently, January of this year, in person at the gym. So after that gym experience, and that was with a future faker, and we can talk about that because not a lot of people have heard that term. And that's what prompted me when I realized that's what it was. I've got to sound the warning alarm for other women so they can be aware of the signs to look for. Because if you're looking for, love and attention and affection, and which I think most of us are, then they see you from a mile away. They can spot us from a mile away. And that's what prompted me to write this book, was because I just want to sound the warning alarm and help women through, if they've experienced that, to help walk them through the experience.
So what is a future faker? How do you define that?
I had to do some research because I did not know what had happened to me. I'm thinking, what happened? The first one way back was for money. This one was for emotional manipulation. And a future faker is someone who builds the whole relationship based on the future. And I'll give you some examples. I'm going to surprise you. Oh, we're going to go travel here and we're going to go here and there. It's going to be a surprise. Nothing. We need to have this conversation, but that's a future conversation. We're going to Europe on this fabulous vacation, but it's in the future. The whole thing is based on illusion, based on the future of what's going to be. And so you're kind of biting at the carrot, but they set up their scenario so beautifully with the love bombing, you don't know what's happening to you. So that's a future faker, as opposed to a romance scammer who is most of the time after money.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I have a particular disdain for people that tell me the things that they're going to do. It's just like, I don't care what you say, just either do it or don't do it, but don't tell me about it. And so I can see how you could get sucked in, because people like that, when you first meet them, they seem genuine, and like that's it could happen, but mm, there's just so many people that are just like they want to tell you all about the things that they're going to do, and the more grandiose the thing is, the more like yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And the the thing is, I have a really good longtime friend who I'm sharing what's happening to me earlier this year, and he's saying real men don't tell you they're going to do something; they just do it. So first tip off is that planning a future scenario and acting like it's real. But again, they don't do that on the first encounter. They set up their love bombing first. You think you have died and gone to heaven with how they're showering you with uh, niceties.
Hmm. Yeah, they can. It's easy to get sucked in, especially if you're lonely. And we all get lonely at times. And if you're on your own, it's easy to feel like you would like somebody to share fun times with and do things with. But it's really difficult to find quality people like on the spur of the moment.
It sure is. And people think that most of the scammers are online, but they're not. They're in person. They're skulking in gyms. They're skulking everywhere, and they know exactly what they're looking for. And the big thing is that most of the time we possess qualities that they're lacking or will never have, like the kindness, the nurturing, the the attentiveness. We have all those, and somehow they sense that, because I was going around about my business at the gym. I was just working out. I love the gym. I'm there. And I wasn't looking for anybody. I'm just there. But apparently he had been watching me, watching my moves, watching. So they can tell who their next target is going to be somehow. I didn't think I was a target, but I was.
What are some of the things that you would say to women to watch out for in terms of how they're behaving to keep themselves from appearing to be a target?
Yes, I don't know if you can appear not to be a target, but some things to watch out for are if they're way complimentary too fast. If they are, if the guy is just so complimentary. And I remember meeting this person, our first encounter, second encounter after the gym, and like he just went bonkers the whole time. It was almost like, okay, enough. But it's like, oh, you look so beautiful. Oh, you look, and it just went on and on and on and on. And a woman who, I mean, it doesn't like draw me in, but a woman who just is craving that will just be, it's like a vacuum, you know? So that's one thing to look for, is just excessive love bombing. Another thing to look out for, I would say, is if they say they establish their scenario, they establish their position, and then within a month they say I love you. Way red flag. Nobody can love you in a month. They don't even know you. Another one is divide and conquer. They will kind of put wedges, verbal wedges, emotional wedges between you and those that you love, because they don't want you to be talking to them. They don't want you to be interacting, because if you are, somebody on your friends or family might say, no, that sounds like a scammer. They kind of want to divide you from that. So those are the top three that to watch out for. Just excessive attention at first. And I know when people are first in love, they do shower attention on each other. No problem with that, but it's excessive. Yeah.
And so what do you do if you're already involved in a relationship like that? When like you, you went you went too far and you let them into your heart, and now you're starting to realize, oh crap, this was a mistake. a big mistake.
Oh, yes. I think the first thing is that when I first started questioning, it was you get to know at first they have a pattern. They will call you every night, pretty much at the same time. They have a life pattern that they follow and that you follow. But if they break that pattern, hey, you didn't call me last night at the time you usually do, and they will turn it back on you. They will gaslight you basically. And so I think when you're in it and you feel like, oh, I might love this person, and you don't know, but I think it's just ask more questions, ask pointed questions. If they evade the questions, if they dance around the questions or just don't answer, or if they turn them back on you, ding ding, it's a big warning sign. Ask them, another thing is to ask them to meet your friends. Somebody who is not genuine and doesn't really want a relationship with you, they want something from you, they will not want to meet your friends, because then your friends again are going to ask you about, hey, how's it going with Joe Blow? So they don't want to meet your friends. They'll come up with excuses, or they'll be busy, or for whatever reason. So they don't really want you to meet their friends, because their friends most likely know who they are. So divide and conquer. And yeah, and just I think if you're in it, like when I was in it, and my emotional manipulator person, he used, I fully believe he used a fake cancer diagnosis as his exit plan, because I think he had a trajectory. I'm done, 2 months. This one's done. I got her to say I love you, on to the next one. And so, and I when I was doing my research, I found that is true. So many people use fake cancer diagnosis to just as their exit plan. And that's when I started asking pointed questions, and I started pushing a little bit more. And then it's just like, done. No responses. Then they know the gig is up. You know what's going on at this point. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, wow. So what is the very first thing a woman can do after she realizes she's a survivor of a deceptive romance?
The first thing she should do is focus on herself, really. Do some healing, do some journaling. And what she does with that is treat herself like she would treat her best friend that just went through it. Because often we would be compassionate and loving and kind and nurturing to our best friend. We would come alongside them, but we often don't do that on our own to ourselves. So treat yourself as if you're your best friend. Go get a massage. Journal about your feelings every single day, or make voice notes if you're not a writer. Go buy your favorite dessert or meal, or take yourself out to a nice dinner. Nurture yourself as if you're dating yourself. And that's the first thing. It's just that self-love, self-care is the best thing. I mean, to add to that, the second thing would be talk to somebody about it, because you need somebody. I remember after the first one, I felt so stupid. I felt so vulnerable. I felt so disappointed, thinking it was the real thing. And it just, the money, the $2,500 was, that was a big deal. I had to pay that back. But it was the illusion of thinking somebody saying that they loved you, when it really was deception. And so I would say to that woman, get help, find somebody to walk with you through that, because it is a heartbreak. It doesn't mean it's any less because it was pretend.
Yeah, and giving yourself the grace to be able to acknowledge that it was a mistake. It was just something that happened, and it's not your fault. Sometimes we just feel like, oh God, we're so stupid. How could I have fallen for that? And if it's happened before, and we often fall into patterns with people that we date, and it's it really is not your fault. There's a reason for it. And if you can seek help, you can often find what the root cause is. And then you can break that pattern. You can realize why it is that you're attracted to these kinds of people so that you don't get there again. And it's like the whole learning your lesson. If you don't learn it the first time, you'll see it again. Keep getting it until you pass.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you're so right. You're so right about that, because it's not our fault. And I stayed in the book, and even I think in the introduction about Bernie Madoff, you know, he scammed thousands of brilliant, wealthy people. So how did those people feel? Probably duped. Probably, how could I have fallen for that? Same thing. It's the same thing. So we have to give ourselves grace. And yes, you do feel stupid, but if you learn the lessons, if you learn the warning signs, when that next person, because they're attracted to our kind, nurturing personalities, you'll be able to, like, wait a minute, you can ask those questions I asked at the beginning, pointed. Don't be embarrassed about asking them pointed questions, because if they're not real, you can hear between the lines, the evasion, all that.
To other relationship coaches over the course of doing this podcast, because I get to talk to so many wonderful people out there doing amazing things. And one of the things that they talked about is asking the hard questions up front. Like you're saying, for younger people, where do you see this relationship going? Do you want a family? Do you want me to stay home and raise the kids? Are you wanting a woman who's going to support you? What are the dynamics of the relationship you're looking for? And if they're not looking for the kind of relationship that you want to have, early is better. Ditch them.
Yeah.
Because your person is out there, or your people are out there. I think there's more than one person for any person out there. Like soulmates and stuff, but I think soulmates are just like, maybe your soulmate's not even on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Find somebody you like and you have fun with, and who wants the same things that you want, and make a relationship.
Yes, it's common, finding the commonalities, and not even romance scams, not even that. I have a young friend who was just getting out of a marriage because her husband had all kinds of addictions. No clue. Talked about all that, kids, and we want the same things. All those pieces were there, but just after 2 years of marriage, it's like, boom, so that's relationship deception too, not malicious like these scammers and future fakers do, but it's still relationship deception, and you still have to heal and move on.
Yeah, you do. And just staying in a bad relationship for the kids' sake, I personally experienced with some of this, and it doesn't do anybody any good. If your relationship is broken beyond repair, if you've grown to a point where you're not on the same path anymore, move on. It's better for everyone. And then, figure out how you're going to take care of the kids. And whatever you do, don't bash that other person. Get out of the relationship before the bashing starts, because your kids are part of both of you. And whenever you start like slamming on one parent over the other, it just makes the kid feel like, oh, they don't like this part of me. And that's just not fair to the kids. But I don't think it does them any good to be in a relationship with somebody that you're just, it's a bad relationship. Manipulation happens in bad relationships, and it's both ways, both people.
Yeah, you're done. If both people are done, what's better, keeping it together for the kids. I mean, I did that. I was married 23 years. So I did that. I wanted to leave so many times, but I stayed because of the kids. And what's better? to do that. So you have this intact, dysfunctional family, or you show your kids what strength you have inside of you and that you made a really, really hard decision for your better good and for theirs. And that, to me, that is the sounder decision rather than putting kids, like you said, putting kids through that, because then that's their model for how a relationship should be, how a marriage should be. And that's no good because they're going to either repeat it or they're never going to get married.
Yeah, I have to say my two older kids that were a product of the divorce have, and they're adults, they're in their 40s now. Um, they've both of them have been married to their spouses for like 10 and 15 years. They have kids, they have businesses. They are doing amazing. And they have they they looked at what happened between their dad and I, and they recognize and they interact with us in a way that they recognize that, yeah, that wasn't working. But I'm still friends with their dad to this day. And today's my anniversary. We're 28 years married, but my current husband and my ex-husband get along great. When we go to California, we all get together and do stuff, and it's like it's just an extended family. There's lots of papas and nanas out there.
And it's some more people, that is not my scenario, but I know a lot of cases that works. And I think the kids just benefit from all that love when everybody has different styles of loving their kids and everybody has different methods, but I think it's an advantage to the kids to have the extra people that if you can all get along, because that's not the case all the time, maybe
Yeah.
even most of the time. So I think it's an advantage for the kids to see, oh, this is a healthy relationship. And then obviously your kids have patterned that by having long
Yeah.
marriages. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm actually really proud of them. I have 5 kids. I'm proud of them all. But there's other relationships in there where like my youngest, she's been in a relationship for a couple of years, and she's come to realize that, though she loves this young man, she doesn't want to live with him anymore. He he's not the person that she could see herself having a long-term relationship with. And so she moved out, which I thought was, pretty amazing considering how young she is. Usually when you're that young and you glommed onto somebody, it's like, I'm just going to hang on with both hands and take the ride for wherever it's taken me. So
Yeah.
it's
And then
just,
20 years goes by, 25 years goes by because you're trying to appease everybody but yourself.
mhm,
And it's such a life of regret because you're trying to make it work. You're trying, but you are the
yeah.
only one that's trying.
Yeah. And when you put yourself last, it really doesn't benefit anybody else because you're like hiding all of the gifts that you already have just to appease people. And it's more about people pleasing and trying to be liked, and you're never going to be liked in that situation because not everyone is always going to like you. You just have to step out and be who you are, and if they like you, great, and if not, they're not your people. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what a mantra that I've kind of adapted as I've gotten older. It's okay. It's okay, And sometimes I have to repeat that to myself because it's okay, and you don't want to be around people. And one of my favorite quotes is don't and it's a well versed quote. Now I always get the beginning wrong, but don't spend time with people who tolerate you. Instead, spend time with people who celebrate you. And
Yeah.
that's who I want to surround myself with. That's when I feel the fullest is when I'm surrounded by people who celebrate me, who see who I am and see my flaws and see my good points and love me anyway. What a fulfilling thing that is, you know?
I was talking to somebody who just the other day. She's a self-acknowledged people pleaser. And she said one of the things that she started doing was instead of going into a party and hoping that everybody liked her or into an event, she went into the event thinking, I wonder who I'm going to like. And just that shift is like so powerful.
Very powerful, yes. And I have some events over the next few days, and I am going to keep that right here because that's true. You want to, like, oh, I hope they accept me. I hope they like me. Who cares? You bring your authentic self. You're going to be friendly. You're going to be kind and thoughtful and engage people in conversation. But like the opposite, will I like them? Who will I, who will I connect with? Who will I resonate with?
She had gone out to try to find friends because she'd never had a group of friends before. And she said she did actually end up finding a group of friends by having that approach, and they were interested in the things she was interested in. And she talked about the things that were interesting to her and waited to see if people would, if they were interested in that too. Because that's really where friendships develop is on common ground. And if you're just trying to be polite and try and be interested in what people are talking about when you're not really, it's kind of not genuine.
It totally is. And you can be, just proper, just, and think you're saying all the right words. And it's being around other authentic people who don't have anything to prove. They're past all that. And that can be any age. I think it's a little bit older because we're past, I mean, it's just like, who cares when you get past this?
You hit the crone stage and you're like, bring it on, baby.
I earn these wrinkles. So they're badges of honor. But
Yeah.
but I think it can transcend, but it's just, and if conversation with somebody is lagging sometimes and you're at a table and you're, you kind of forced to socialize in a way, ask people what their hobbies are. Well, what do you like to do? You don't have to say another word, just show an interest in other people,
Mhm.
and they walk away. Oh, she was really nice. All I did was ask about you, and not fake, genuine. You're really caring about that. And if you can, to add to the point, find out if you're going to be around certain people, find out about them. Google, find out where they're hanging out and find that commonality, as you said. And I think that just promotes wonderful conversation and rich friendship sometimes.
Yeah, stalk them a little on social media.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know, it
yeah.
sounds silly, but you can learn a lot about somebody just scrolling through their profile and seeing what they're up to. And it gives you an idea of, questions to ask and how to just have a conversation with them.
That's it. But like you said, a real conversation, an authentic conversation, not forced and, you know, just not forced, just
Yeah.
organic. Yeah.
So you've written this book. It's called The Heart Swindler, and you're going to be doing coaching. And by the time this episode airs, you will have published the book and it'll be for sale on your website, which is
Winningproof.com. That's WINNING, like winning the game. Proof you're winning the game. Winningproof.com. And the subtitle, just to add to that, is Reclaim Your Heart and Stop Falling for Liars, Losers, and Lunatics.
Oh, I like that. I missed that part of it.
Oh, yeah, that's a subtitle, and it's morphed over the last, since I started working on it. It's a quick read, maybe 72-ish, pages. I don't know how many pages it'll be after it's completely formatted, but it's a quick read. There's stories of surviving women that from narcissistic abusers, plenty of women in that arena that have been long-term married to narcissistic abusers, future fakers, romance scammers, all that. So it includes a kaleidoscope of different stories. And it has heroic heartbeat lessons at the end of every story. So what the woman learned through their experience. And my 2 stories are in there, but I don't use names. I just, the table of contents is more what it is, future fake or online romance, all that.
Sounds great. I'm gonna have to pick up a copy myself.
I just have had such a fun time compiling the stories, and it's been one of the most fun books I have worked on, because I have 2 children's books. I have a how-to book I wrote with a former NFL player, and I have another one called Bathroom Prayers, Inspiring Thoughts While You're on the Pot.
I like that.
So none of my books are connected to each other, but this one is special because I've really lived it. I've lived through the experience. I've lived through healing your heart. I've lived through parents in the back with the first one saying, "Can she be that stupid?" That hurts. That hurts your heart.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I know what that's like, and I think that through the coaching, I can help other women just heal and give themselves grace.
And you are going to be coaching. You're going to have coaching available for women who are survivors of these flawed relationships.
Absolutely, because I know how to walk through. I don't know, I can't say that I had someone like that. I don't think I did. I had mostly people pointing fingers at me. And that does not feel good at all. And like you said previously, you have to learn the lessons. You have to learn what's in you. There's patterns, there's lack, maybe the childhood, because I know they say you marry your unfinished business, and so we're attracted to our unfinished business. So we have to look at ourselves like that. But it's so hard to have people around you that are just kind of kicking you while you're down. And
Yeah, and that happens so often. I remember when I left my first husband and I had no one. I lost all my friends because they were really his friends, and he was an alcoholic. So that's why we ended up getting divorced. But I had no friends. I had a job that I was like in transition with, and it was just I couldn't talk to my family because my family has its own problems. And at the time it was they never liked my first husband, so it was like, you got what you deserve sort of thing. And it was really hard. And at that point I promised myself that if my kids ever went through anything like that, they could always move home, or I would be kind to them at least. I don't get it, but I do know that it's not uncommon when people split up or a relationship breakup happens. They don't really know what to say, or they say all of the wrong things, or they're just hurtful. And and that's not helpful. You need somebody that can just like hold your hand and remind you that this too will pass. You know?
and that you're worthy of real love. And after going through a deceptive relationship, you don't think you're worthy of real love. You think that this is all I can attract, and so you're looking inward to say, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And it's not. It's just we are worthy of real love, genuine love, somebody that just comes alongside of us and just walks through life with us. Oh, I don't think there's anything better than that. But it's yeah, it's really hurtful to go through that when people that are supposed to love you and protect you and surround you disappear or hammer in the nails. And sometimes it's perfect strangers. And I know even after my divorce, after 23 years, there was this little guy, pudgy guy at the gym, and you pass each other, blah, blah, blah. Perfect stranger. He was the one. Friends disappeared, everybody disappeared. But this stranger brought me Chinese food. He let me cry on his shoulder. This sole person walk through one of the most devastating and painful experiences of my life. So women have to look for the most unlikely sources, just look for the most unlikely sources. And sometimes those are the ones. And I still, after I've been divorced 23 years, I'm still talking about that little guy at the gym, because that was so powerful and so significant to me. He was the only one there. So kind of look for unlikely sources, but test them out to see if they're worthy of your story, because not everybody is worthy of your story.
And as Marissa Peer says, you're enough.
That's it.
Write it on your mirror, any place that you're going to look, just because you need that reminder.
You do. You do. You are enough. Just like you are. Just like you are. Not, you don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to try to be anybody else.
And you don't need anybody else to complete who you are. You are enough by yourself. And if somebody comes along who's also enough by themselves, it's really fun to spend time with them. But when you're having to be them and you, that's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I totally subscribe to that. And I love what you said. You are enough. And I like to tell women, walk in your worth. Realize your worth and walk in your worth. And if you do that, it's not cockiness, it's confidence. It's an inner confidence. And I've spent so many years thinking, oh, if I think well of myself, I'm going to get arrogant. I'm going to get conceited, because that's what I was told growing up. And so, but there's a difference between quiet confidence, walking in your worth, knowing you are enough. It's okay to say that to yourself and to live it and to embody it.
A little bit of arrogance isn't going to hurt you at all. Own it, girl. I have a granddaughter. I think she's like 5 now. And she's super confident in everything she does. She's like, she auditions to be the flower girls at people's weddings. I love her to death, because she's just like, she owns who she is. She's larger than life, and if you don't like it, fine. You don't have to be my friend.
I love that.
How she says it. Like, you go, girl.
Yeah, one of my 5 grandkids, but one of them is like that. Very, I said, and I told my daughter, she's going to make all of us rich someday, because I can see her just doing her thing,
Yeah.
So, but when they grasp that at 5 years old and walk in their worth at 5 years old, hey.
Yeah, I'm liking it. It's like, it's a whole different way of being. And I think it's really, it's so important towards forming a world where people can just be who they are. And just being who you are brings so much richness to the world that shrinking back and holding yourself back just brings misery.
It does. And I read a lot about that lately, about shrinking. Don't ever shrink back so the other person can appear bigger or larger or something like that. Don't ever shrink back because of making somebody else feel larger. And I'm just like, I've read that so many times. And when you're trying to learn something, it shows up multiple times. And so that's like, no, there is no shrinking. You don't like it? Oh, well.
Yeah. So another friend said, you need to shine your light so those who are meant to find you can find you, and everybody else can crash on the rocks at your feet.
Yeah, it's just that genuineness again, just being genuine, authentic. If you like it, fine. If you don't, fine. Not
Exactly.
I think you said earlier as well, not everybody's meant to be in your world.
And that's okay. There's lots of people out there. You can't be friends with everyone.
That's right. Nor would I want to. I like to keep my circle kind of small.
Well, Michelle, this has been a really great conversation. I've enjoyed it very much. is there one thing you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Oh, I think the one thing is that going back to the Heart Swindler and the book and romantic relationship deception is that just look for the signs, beware, be hyper vigilant about the signs, but protect yourself and protect your heart. And I heard that the whole time during this short 2 months with the emotional manipulator, is a future faker, is that I heard that still small voice inside myself the whole time: guard your heart, guard your heart, listen to your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. And that proved itself correct at the end of the 2 months. But trust your gut, trust that woman's intuition that we have. Some of us have it keener than others, but I would just leave them. Trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, listen to that voice. Listen to that voice. And I think
Thank you so much for joining me, Michelle.
You have been a pleasure. It's been great to have a conversation. The topic energizes me to no end.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.